If you don't need to use it in your maintenance routine, everybody with curly hair can use it in their styling routine. The way to look at these sprAngz is, think of it like curlers are for straight hair, sprAngz is for curly hair. So you're using them like you would curlers in a sense, which means that when you set the hair wet, right? And then you dry the hair and then you take the curlers out. It's the same thing with the sprAngz. Once you get out of the shower, put on whatever leave-in styling product that you would normally use. Put the sprAngz in, which will give you the stretch again, you know, as long as your hair is still wet or damp. And then allow your hair to air dry or even blow dry or sit up under a dryer. I typically go out with them in my hair. One, because I think I've gotten a little addicted to them. And, you know, I kind of like feeling my hair move around for once, you know. Okay, but I like the duality of having that feeling, but having my natural hair as well. And also it gives full advantage of keeping my hair elongated, so I never have to fight the shrinkage because I have these in my hair 90% of the time. And of course the other reason is I want to see what kind of public feedback I get, which brings me to a very interesting place. You know, I expect to get some looks and maybe, you know, some, you know, questions because, you know, but what I found is I almost feel like I'm back to, you know, when I originally went natural. It's like black females are looking at me strange, but everybody else is more upbeat, curious. Not one black female has asked me anything. Hey, what's that? You know, nothing. But yet, I've had a kind of mid-aged males look with curiosity, but not negative curiosity. But they haven't really said anything. But I've had older males, probably in their late 50s, 60s, that was kind of like, oh, wow, huh, that's interesting. And then there was this cute little boy. He was probably about 8 years old, and I don't know, I was about 30 feet from him, and he just yells, "Hey, I like your hair like that." I thought it was so cute. I thought, oh, I know he ain't gonna stay that way, but let me not curse the boy, but you know what I'm saying. They start out sweet. And then when I was at the store yesterday, there was this white guy at the checkout. He looked like he was probably in his mid-20s or so. And you know, it's kind of like, you know, when you first go natural, you kind of sometimes forget that your hair is different than the norm for a minute. And I wasn't even paying attention to him, and I was just putting my stuff down on the counter, and when I looked up at him, he was just like, wow. And I just kind of looked at him like, what? And then I realized, you know, what he was looking at, which was this. My hair was pretty much like this. And I was like, oh yeah. And he was like, wow. He was like, oh wow. He's like, yeah. He's like, huh. Like he didn't know what to say. But at least it was positive. Now mind you, it's two sisters behind me, and okay, you know how you're in the store sometimes and you can swear somebody's following you because they think you're gonna steal something? Okay, it wasn't that, but it seemed like every time I went down the aisle, here they would come, like on the parallel aisle, like I kept thinking, I mean, it wasn't that big of a store, but it just seemed like wherever I was, they ended up. So when I got in line, they were behind me. Still didn't say a word. And even when the guy was saying something to me, and he still steady kept talking about it while he was ringing me up. So I just thought, okay, you know, just like when I first went natural and I could see the question marks all over, you know, women's and girls' faces, you know, I try not to put on the stink face because, you know, let's face it, that's not going to help the cause either. Even though I really want to, because that's the face that I'm getting in return. But as I was leaving, I just made a point to look back, and, you know, they were just kind of looking at me all stale. And I just, you know, gave them a smile and a nod, you know, and what can you do, right? But, you know, be patient using these. You know, it's just like when you first went natural. You know, it takes a minute. It takes a minute to find your groove, find what works. You know, same thing's going to be with these because, you know, it's a new product. But the more you use it, the easier it gets, and then it starts to feel like, you know, it feels like second nature, and you start to wonder like, wow, you know, what was I doing before? Because I found myself doing that now. Okay. And technically, I would put this last spraying back in and let this section dry. Let the gel dry. Okay. So now I'm going to take all these out. So what I did, I went through each section, spritzed it down, and ran the gel from root to tip with my fingers, just really smoothing and working it in, alternating with gel and water, because sometimes I think we over apply products, which is why it's good to use water-based products, because then you can use the water to help work it into your hair, which you can't do with oil-based products. And so now that my hair is damp, because yeah, it's still damp. Okay, and then now I can blow dry. And I'm going to use just a cool setting. There's no need to use any heat. I just need the air. Basically concentrated the air, you know, on the roots. That way I can blend the ends together, because if it's still wet, I still have, you know, something to work with a little bit. Of course, I can't see what I'm doing, but you get the idea. You know, I get much better definition. And now, you know, you just style to suit. And that is it. This has probably taken a good 50% of time off of doing my hair. Easily, because I never have to like feel like I have to rush. Number one, like trying to trying to do my hair before my hair fully dries, because as you know, once it dries, it's like locked into place. And then when you have to pull out the spray bottle, you know, it's just a fight. It's not the same as if you got your hair, have your hair soaking wet straight out of the shower, which is how I developed my regimen to begin with, because that whole second day spritz thing never worked for me. And so I always had to get my hair soaking wet again. And then when I did that, it, you know, just the water alone would make my hair not feel as great. And then I needed the conditioner so that I could, you know, work it through and feel like I can revitalize my hair. See that piece sticking up? And then all I could do after that, you know, and I still do. I still wear my hair as is sometimes, but the thing is, it's so much easier to care for with the sprAngz in. It hasn't happened that much, and it's not necessarily about the stretch so much. It is about the control and not having to get my hair wet every day. And even if I do, it dries, I mean, 1,000% faster, because, you know, it's not trapped in the afro. With it being held down, the water just kind of naturally falls away. So either process of doing this or with my regimen, it's just made dealing with my hair so much easier. And, you know, when I'm not feeling so well and I'm, you know, lying down, I don't fear, you know, crushing my hair and, you know, ended up with like knots the next time, you know, I try to deal with it. So what that does, like if you ever end up in the hospital or you're sick, you know, it's a good way to, you know, without having to braid your hair. Of course, who wants to have, you know, have somebody messing with your hair, or you even doing it for that matter, when you're not feeling well? So you just throw these in your hair and it'll hold your place. It's like I said, it's like placeholders, so that the next time you get around to it, you know, you're not fighting whatever crushing, knotting thing happens to our hair when we don't deal with it on a daily basis, especially if we don't get it wet every day. Okay, so I'm off. I'm gonna style and get out of here.